Todd, if you'd like to start with a roll call for attendance.
Sure thing. I will begin roll call vote for attendance. Peter.
I am here.
Mark.
Here.
Excellent. James.
Here.
Fantastic. Michael.
Here.
Eric. Is Eric here yet? No. I don't.
Doesn't look like it.
All right. Well, I'll skip Eric for a moment. And Bob, are you here?
Here.
Excellent. We'll give Eric a few moments to catch up, but I'm sure he'll be here.
Okay.
Hey Jeff, how are we doing?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. The only thing you've missed so far is attendance.
Awesome.
Okay. I've
Right,
lost.
hand it back to the chair.
Okay. All right. So first on the agenda is town planner report. So Todd, if you have anything to share, we're
Sure. Much appreciated. Just to let you know, I did reach out. This is in regards to the upcoming shade trees and scenic roads hearings that we have coming up 2 weeks from today. I did go ahead and reach out to town council for a couple of questions that I had. Feel free to ask me about them privately. I don't want to risk opening up a discussion, but the relation to whether or not the stone walls that are near these potential developments, as they do serve a function as delineating accurately between parcel lines, would those consist of, or could they be interpreted to serve as a fence? In that case, that would change any potential fees, the fee structure and punishments levied. So I'm working alongside town council and the tree warden there, because I've consulted I tabulated it all out. I consulted over 400 hours, 400 years of planning experience. Consulted 20 folks. Each of them has about 20 years under their belt, and none of them have given me a bulletproof answer, at least not to my satisfaction. So that's what caused me to reach out to town council today with Donlo's permission. So once I get a decision to that, or at least some guidelines from council, I'll be able to weigh in a bit more effectively. Aside from that, I've been keeping up with the items that have been ongoing. I've also reached out with Rebecca Longvall on some of the other green space items that we met for today. Aside from that, it's been relatively slow going, but I did manage to go through all of the items from the June meeting, the June packet, and go over all the potential items for regulatory reform that could be broached and likely tackled and completed by the time for meeting. I went ahead and color coded all of those out, green, yellow, and red. Green being an easy lift that we can do relatively in-house, and red items are ones that require a much more thorough review of data, and they're not likely to meet the timeline that we need. And there's a proliferate amount of yellow, which are a little bit stickier than the green, but not so difficult as the red. So I'll share that with you in the coming weeks. I do have it up here, but I don't want to risk broaching discussion because some of the items require a hearing announcement and an advertisement. I don't want to risk opening that can of fish right now. Speaking of, I will be able to, once we get to that portion of the meeting, I will be able to elucidate the pattern forward when it comes to what we can do with items relating to those delinquent subdivisions and what we can do in terms of future applicants and what we can require of them in terms of road maintenance, including plowing. So I can go over all of that when the time comes. Yes, I can go over all of that when the time comes. I get to pour over some of my most favorite chapters, the sections of chapter 41. I can tell you it's astoundingly entertaining reading. But I was able to get a path forward there. I say that with a little, I'm joking somewhat, but not entirely. I was able to at least set a path forward so that any future subdivisions will be able to at least hold them to the same standard of the roads that we have here in town. If anyone is excited and wants to hear about it, I can preview it by saying it's section 81Q of chapter 41, Massachusetts Subcontrol. If anyone is so enthused to look it up now and just get ahead of the reading. Aside from that, it's been a very pleasant and busy day. But aside from that, that's all I have to update you with.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Todd.
Always.
Does anyone have any questions for Todd or things they want to ask him about before we move on to
Thank you for bringing that up, Pete. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No,
I was able to correct the link for the draft decision that'll be discussed and reviewed and acted upon later on this meeting.
Okay.
I did also run that by the zoning enforcement officer, and he gave it. He has no issues with it whatsoever. And as he'll be the one enforcing it, I wanted to make sure I brought him under the umbrella and just shared with him the draft that I was envisioning. I did review the entire meeting for which this item was acted upon then. Well, the hearing was closed, didn't act on it, but you opened and closed the hearing then. So I was able to take all of that footage there and then draft a draft decision based upon the activity that I saw in that previous Zoom meeting. So this is not usually the way that I like to, this is not usually my MO for the way I like to draft decisions, but this one here is the best representation for what I found in that previous Zoom meeting back in August, I believe.
okay, great. Yeah, I remember that was a
Yeah.
lengthy discussion.
It's a little bit of a quirky item, but it was relatively straightforward once I finished getting all the details wrapped up.
All right. Well, yeah, I appreciate you slogging through our discussion on that because.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
All right. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up for Todd before we move on to the next item? Okay. So we have looks like 6 more of these driveway sureties to vote on as we've been doing releasing, and I assume, Todd, these are all good to go as the last ones were, and I think this was the last of the.
This is the last. I'm so sorry to interrupt. This is the last 6 of the 18 in total that we had to act on, and just as I mentioned, as a gesture of mercy to taking the minutes, we elected to break them up into three little batches. So this is the last of those batches. After that, we shouldn't have any more of these for the foreseeable future.
Okay, great. Yeah, I appreciate you cleaning all this up for us. So unless anyone has any, questions, I'll happy to entertain, one motion at a time as we've been doing.
I'll go ahead and make some motions. I'll make a motion to release the driveway surety for Burnham Road 4C-D.
I'll second.
All right, Todd, I think you're on mute if you want to do a roll call for voting.
There we go. Sorry about that. Very good. Roll call vote. I will begin with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
And I don't believe we have Eric on yet, but 4 is enough. Very good. All right, next.
I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for Long Hill Road 4E number 33.
Very good. Any seconds?
Todd, you know what house number this is?
Say again, sir. I couldn't quite hear you.
You know what house number this is on Long Hill?
This one here, I can pull it up. Give me one quick moment.
Yeah.
Long Hill Road 4E number 33.
Okay, so it is number 33. Okay.
It's number 33, sir.
Okay, yep, great. Okay, I'll second.
Excellent. Roll call vote. I will begin with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Michael. I don't. There you are, Michael.
Aye.
And Eric, are you in? I don't believe he's quite in yet. Either way, that's quite enough.
I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for 16 Main Street. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I will make the motion to release the driveway surety for Vaughn Hill Lot 2, number 257.
Second.
Excellent. I will begin roll call vote with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
And Eric. I believe he's absent.
Yep.
4 out of 5. Motion carries.
I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for 16 Main Street 4D number 4.
Second.
Excellent. Roll call vote. Peter,
Aye.
Mark,
All right,
James,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Eric. I believe he is still not present. Motion carries.
I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for 34 Fox Run Road, 6B, number 136.
second,
Excellent. Roll call vote. Begin with Peter,
Aye.
Mark,
all right,
James,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and Eric is at present absent. Motion carries.
I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for 121 Oak Trail.
second,
Excellent. Roll call vote. I will begin with Peter,
Aye.
Mark,
all right,
James,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and Eric, who I believe is still absent.
Yep.
4 out of 5, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm moving right along.
That out of the way. Is there anything, Todd, that is kind of a hook in place that doesn't have, that happen again, where they go on for years and years until somebody figures out?
Yeah, so I spoke with Nanochka about this, and it's really a quirk in the process. She just kind of discovered all these inactive accounts, it's my understanding. But even still, she had this as part of a cleaning of house, more or less. But we're going to have pretty sharp eyes on these going into the future, so this shouldn't reproduce again.
Yeah, gotcha.
And
Just
some of
surprised
these are,
people don't want their money back.
yeah, I mean, these have been going on, I think in the longest case, going on nearly 2 years. I mean, $1,000, that's not nothing money. But I don't foresee this happening again. We'll be all right.
Did the developer post those bonds or did the homeowners have to do it? Do you know?
The homeowners do as part of when they're when they're adding into the driveway. It's just the driveway permit surety, just to make sure we hold that until occupancy is granted, just to make sure that there's no runoff into the street, no erosion alongside the driveway, just to make sure that it's built properly, safely, and effectively.
Okay.
Sure. Right, and just as an aside, I'm glad to see Mr. Motha is here and present. I take it y'all have received my emails regarding the conversations with Mr. Motha. If you have any questions, yes, he is here. So once we open up the hearing and continue that hearing, if you have any questions, I would direct them to Mr. Motha, who I know has some information to share with us.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I guess just wait a minute just to be on.
We have a few moments, I believe.
Yeah. I'm ready to go if you guys are. If you're waiting for me.
Oh, no, sorry. We were just waiting till the time is till it's 7:15. Otherwise, because it's a public hearing,
It was noticed for 7:15, so we have to give the public an opportunity to make their presence in time and then make their presence known.
It's 7:14 right now. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's just a quirk of the process.
Yep.
I got a really quick question. Did anyone last night there was a meeting about the high school? Was there any type of resolution to that, or is it just still in the works?
I haven't heard anything yet, but if I do hear something, I will share it with you, Jim.
Great, thank you.
You got it.
Okay.
We do have 7:15.
Yeah, now that it's 7:15, yeah, Jeff, if you just want to, I think we
Yep.
saw initially you were asking to continue, but then you wanted to share some stuff with us. So
Yeah. Sorry, I got information after I said that from my engineer, because my engineer is not completely done with just doing the little edits or updates that are needed. And there's actually two different items that were brought to my attention. First one is so he did speak with the fire chief as well as the DPW. The DPW is requesting an island in the cul-de-sac for less pavement and place to place put the snow, and then the fire chief is asking for the opposite, stating that there is more room for emergency vehicles. So just wanted to know, I guess it's, up to the planning board.
Yeah, I mean, so I saw that note, and I think one thing, one thing I think, we've had in the past, right, is we've had some different DPW directors. Some of them like them, some of them don't. I understand the fire chief for access. So about the pavement, right? So when we looked at this in the past in one particular development, and we actually calculated the paved area with an island versus without an island, it was significantly less paved area without the island.
Mhm.
And so that, I guess, might be one thing if your engineer could, kind of quickly, calculate each way, right?
Mhm.
That might be a way to help, at least clarify to both the board, we're obviously interested in less, paved area, right? And in that particular development, it was that we were looking at, they did that calculation for us, and it was a lot more. So that would be helpful if it's, possible to do that. And then we could at least get that info to the DPW director. In terms of the snow storage, I definitely understand that, and that might be something we'd have to discuss with him some more as well.
I think in this case, just based off the houses are set far back and the open space area, I think there's plenty of space without an island to put snow. There's not going to be houses or people's, front lawns right away.
Yeah, and along those lines, if the plan without the island sort of showed potential like snow storage area that, we've had that on plans sometimes, that might help alleviate the concerns and reduce the, because for these kind of things, we tend to defer to, we obviously have our own opinion, like we'd like, there to be less pavement. We obviously want, think about aesthetics and access and egress and all that stuff too, but we do oftentimes defer to, DPW and the fire chief and police chief for various things like this. So, it might be a situation where if they're having different opinions, we might have to get them to come together and, hash it out a little bit, right? Whether that's, in a meeting or we hash it out through email with them. But, one thing that'd be helpful for us, I think, is, a calculation of the paved area each way. And then, if you had a plan without the island that could show potential snow storage, we could go to the DPW director and say, hey, there's actually is less pavement if we move the island, and here's the numbers. And then they're proposing snow storage here, and also the comments from the fire chief. Would that be acceptable to you? And that might resolve the issue. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts about how to do it, but that's just off the top of my head.
No, that makes sense. And of course, calculating the impervious surface area is nothing more than just napkin geometry. Really, it's not terribly difficult. But getting those calculations and at least the snow storage areas reflected on the submitted plans would be absolutely helpful. I'm sure your engineer can contact the fire department directly if they need to have separate conversations regarding, for example, the turning radii of the equipment we happen to have here in Bolton. I don't mind serving as kind of the middle linchpin for that. I don't mind. Just be in contact with me, and we'll make sure we get the information we need.
All right, that makes sense.
Sure.
And then I had I don't know if the right forum, but was told to request a waiver for the traffic study portion of it, being that it's only a 6-house development lot of the environmental impact study that we're submitting.
This is the proper venue to request the waiver. That's something that can be educated and decided down the line, I think. But it's not an unreasonable request, and it's not an uncommon request either.
Yeah, we've definitely granted waivers for that in the past, similar type of situations. We typically like to look at, all the waivers that might be requested kind of at the same time. So when, the plans, come to us after some of the changes, and, we typically like to, sometimes there's, a lot, sometimes, I mean, obviously we prefer fewer, but we kind of like to look at those, all together. But yeah, I think that's definitely something we'd be open to considering, given the small.
Okay.
I've seen waiver requests as long as my arm before, and I've seen no waiver requests. But really, I would suggest that you work together with your engineer and then start amassing together effectively a wish list of whatever waivers you'd like to seek and look out for, and then have each of those educated individually and decided upon individually as it's going on down the line.
Okay. All right. I mean, with this development, I mean, maybe I should probably speaking too soon, but I don't see very many other waivers so far.
Sure.
I mean, pretty far into it. Point.
Very good.
So that was all I had. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm also open.
Yeah, no, not at this point. We really appreciate you and our engineering folks for the site visit. That was really helpful to kind of
Yes.
To see the site for those of us who could attend. So I think we look forward to when you come back with updated plans and things like that. And I think we wanted to continue this. And Todd, you were saying that it needs to go to the November meeting just because of
It does. I'm sad to say our next meeting is fairly chock full. There's really not a gap that I can actually place this particular item in. Given the fact we have the 2 tree hearings and the other items on the agenda that are already in place, not to mention anything that might be added in future, there simply isn't enough time, I'm afraid.
Okay. So I think that meeting is my calendar. I think it's the
9th, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we agreed for November 9th. That's the second Wednesday. That's the sole meeting in November, if I recall.
Yeah. So do we have anything else penciled in terms of hearings yet? I
For
can't
the
remember.
9th, yeah, we have the 2 scenic roads / shade tree hearings for South Bolton Road, as well as a couple other items as well. Oh, and also for to open up discussion regarding subdivision control amendments, items like that. That there could take a deceptive amount of time.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess whatever time you think we should, if we have 2 others, should we do like 7:45 or?
I would say comfortably, I would put that at probably 7:35. I would say, just to give us time to get all the housekeeping items in order. And then if we have time to at least broach one of the 2 shade tree hearings. I would like to do the shade tree hearings, scenic road hearings, sequentially, one after the other. So that way it's fresh on everyone's mind as the meetings are going on. So I could probably pencil them in for either 7:35 or if you're amenable to that, possibly 8 o'clock, if that would work.
Yeah, whatever works best.
All right, I'm going to tentatively put them in for 8, just so that we have a little bit of wiggle room just in case. But if there's anything else that comes in that needs to move, then we can address that as it goes.
Okay. Good to entertain a motion to continue.
I will make a motion to continue the definitive subdivision plan special permit for Assessor's Map 2C Parcel 23 on South Bolton Road until November 9th at 8 p.m.
Excellent.
Second.
Very good. And I will begin roll call vote. We'll begin with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
And Eric.
Aye.
Good to have you back. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
All right.
Take care. Thank you.
Later.
Well, reach out to me if you happen to need anything going on.
Okay, so next we have to review the draft decision. Just up here. Do you want to, Todd, do you want to pull this up? On
Exactly what I was thinking. Would you like to lend me the, I'll just actually share the screen. So just give me one quick second so I can pull it up. Do, do, do. Agenda. Here we go. Alrighty, is that better? Can you guys see that all right? Actually, full screen now, I think. Excellent. All right, can everyone see that all right?
Yep.
Lovely.
Yes.
Okay, so before anything is acted upon, there is something that was brought to my attention. We do have on here, I have members present. I did include Michael Gore. He was not present for this meeting. He was gracious enough to let me know about that. So I will have in the final decision this particular entry struck from this particular draft. And also, if you take a look at the bottom, I notated in red how the board voted blank to blank the petition seeking the special permit. I didn't want to be presumptuous and put unanimously and grant. So depending on how this meeting is eventually acted upon, I will have that reflected here in this language. Make sense?
Yep.
Excellent. So just let me know when you want me to scroll down or anything like that, or if anyone needs any questions cleared up or anything like that.
Yeah, I think page 1 looks fine. Let me just do procedural history. Yeah, let me go to page 2.
Sure. This is the top of page 2. There we go. This here is just an autopsy of the item as it went through motions and hearings.
That looks fine.
These are the documents we have on record as of their application. All the documents, plans, and all the written materials that have been sent to, at that point, Valerie's office, I do have reflected in the bottom during the appendix area here that I'll show you at the end. This portion here, as I'm sure you guys are familiar with, is just all of the different criterion for granting of a special permit. It's pretty administrative and stale. I'm sure you guys know this already.
Yep.
Oh, want to stop? Okay, there you go.
Oh, no, you're good. Sorry.
Okay, very good, very good. All right. That's just also stale language at the top. The findings are what are generally, you guys know what findings are. These are the general findings here. It's located at 5 Harvard Road, Bolton, identified in Assessor's Map 5C as Process 5.0. It's owned by both Keith and Wendy Harrop of 5 Harvard Road. They live on site. Also have the deed reference book and page numbers thereafter. This is allowed as an accessory home occupation by special permit. You guys are the SPGA for this particular item. I do have the citation here, 250-21A of the regulations for the town of Bolton. Everything else is fairly standard. Accessory home occupations are allowed by the section 250-21A. Again, has to be there. Safe vehicle access to and from Harvard Row is maintained through the existing entrance. That's kind of a given. The specific findings here that are pertain just to 5 Harvard Road. This home occupation is allowed under 250-21A of the zoning bylaws of the town of Bolton by a special permit and is in harmony with the agricultural nature of the site, being a fairly bucolic site. It's in resonance with that. Safe vehicle access is granted. First, this is easy and safe pedestrian access within the site, which is true. Everything else is relatively self-explanatory. If anyone has any questions, I would rather just not, read the book aloud to you. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that, there were 2 things, right, that came up during the meeting, right? One was, the applicant had requested that the special permit be extended to the entire site, which we kind of discussed didn't make sense, right? Because it was basically, and what Valerie made the point is, you don't need a permit to do these things. So
it's kind of a moot issue. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to. I think the request came in and said, can you extend it to beyond just the barns, the entire property? And we discussed that kind of back and forth for a while, and Valerie clarified to basically say that
it's really just for the site of the structure and the immediate adjoining area, really. it's really just for what's contained within the structure. And also, I did note, and also I had referenced with the zoning enforcement officer a strict number of rooms that would be available for rent, which is also stipulated here. As you can see on decision 3, the maximum number of bedrooms available for rent is capped at 3. So it's not as if this is turning into a Motel 6 or anything of that sort. They have strict requirements based on sewer capacity, on septic capacity, on how many rooms they would be permitted if this were to go through to rent out at any given time. Again, they don't need any particular extended other permit on top of that. They don't need to stipulate it in the decision that they need the entire yard available for agricultural activities and lessons. If they're charging for it, they would need a special permit, but they don't need anything beyond that special permit, right? And that's what Valerie was clarifying to the applicant.
Okay.
Hours of operation, it's pretty standard practice. The hours they define as regularly open to the public, and it also doesn't count any employee hours that are there for preparation or for hours that the employees are working. That doesn't count towards your hours of operation. So if they happen to have someone on site that's also a house cleaner that shows up at 4 a.m. or something to turn over a motel room, that's not the same as being open for business because you only have your employees there on site at the time. Given also that this has a bed and breakfast functionality, those are by their very nature almost always 24/7, but only within rational, reasonable hours. I don't see it being a major nuisance to either the abutting neighbors or to the adjoining neighborhood. All this here is very straightforward. However, the one issue that I did have is that they also were looking for permission for signage, for permanent signage. That doesn't go through this particular body. That is not our jurisdiction here. That goes through the Board of Selectmen. So that there, I made sure to stipulate on finding 6 that all proposed signage on the premises, including building signage, has to be reviewed and approved by the BOS. That's kind of the way things are done here in Bolton, and we don't have the ability to exceed or go beyond that. And then I gave the proper citation for that 250-18 of the Code of Bolton.
Todd, is that typical of Massachusetts towns?
Not in my experience. I did have a quick little conversation with one of my good friends who also happens to be my mentor, Alan Gordon. He's also a professor I took Planning 101 with him. I've known him that long, for God's sakes. He was a planner in Charlton for 36 years. It's not typically done that way, but then again, it's also not typical to have site plan go through Board of Selectmen. It's not better or worse, it's just different. As you can tell, Bolton's a lovely place to live, so this works just as well the same. It's really a different way to the same place, usually.
I think both of those are carryovers from before there was a planning.
I would be inclined to agree with you. It probably predates, Chapter 40A, to be honest. And it's really immaterial at the end of the day. It really doesn't make all that much of a difference. Everyone has opinions about it, but my opinion doesn't really matter that much. This is the way things are, and it works well. If it's not broken, let's not fix it.
But it's, the one thing that concerns me from a regulatory perspective, looking at it from the applicant's view, having as much consolidated as possible is in the interest both of them and of the town to understand the big picture without allocating individual elements of it to various boards and processes.
That's absolutely valid. Absolutely valid. Again, I'm just working within the regulatory framework we have here in town. If that's something that would like to be revisited, then that's something we can broach definitely at another time. Absolutely, I'm open to it.
Well, I think that's a general issue that we're certainly not going to be able to attack in the near term.
Yeah.
But in terms of streamlining permitting
Yeah.
and understanding the big picture within an individual process, it would really be nice to look at that.
I agree. I think it would make it a little bit more elegant, a little bit less clunky, as it were. But nevertheless, this is where we're stuck, I believe.
Either that or provide a detailed process diagram.
Fair enough. You can give them a flow chart and have them follow along.
Right.
Yeah. So moving on, premises shall have easy and safe pedestrian access between the building and parking areas. Common sense. Food prep shall be in accordance with Board of Health regulations and requirements, which is important should they ever seek to seek to obtain a commercial grade kitchen, which I don't believe they're looking to do. But if they were to ever expand operations to that point, they would have to go through BOH as they ought to. I just would rather have that stipulated here. I would rather have that stipulated here than not have it. Better to have it and not need it than wish it were there and have it not be there. And the applicant will grant permissions to the agents of the town of Bolton to enter, inspect, and take whatever related actions are necessary to ensure compliance with the terms of the special permit. And permit modification, I will fix that typo of that slash after permit, and permit modification of barn bylaw decision. Make a note of that typo because that will drive me absolutely crazy. And on 11, the board reserves the right to review ongoing compliance with the conditions imposed within the special permit and special permit modification of barn bylaw approved herein. That really is effectively, as you know, for the zoning board, the zoning enforcement agent to go there and ensure that our conditions and findings are complied with. Aside from that, the rest is effectively just standard decision shell. If anyone has any questions thereafter, just give me a call. Sorry to be overly verbose, but here we are.
No, it was good. It's been a little time since that meeting, so. I'm good. No questions from me. Looks great.
Fantastic. Also, it is important to know that as Michael so graciously let me know, he was not present to vote on this particular item, so he's open to abstaining. Or if he likes, I can send him the Mullen compliance form, and he can let me know that he already got himself apprised of all the previous hearings. There was one, but as we have a full roster here, this particular special permit can be approved with 4 of 5 present. So it's kind of immaterial.
All right, I'm good to entertain a motion unless anyone has any questions or.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm all for it.
I'll move that we approve the bed and breakfast special permit modification for 5 Harvard Road.
Seconded by Mark. Roll call vote. Begin with Peter.
Wait, hold it. No, I
Sorry.
don't know who seconded it.
Oh, I thought you.
Mark made the motion.
Oh, Mark made the motion. I'm so sorry. Okay, very good.
Michael is, you know,
I'll second it.
I'm
since
messing
Mike isn't
everything
there.
up. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm so sorry. All right,
I'll second it.
very good. Okay. Having
We-
been seconded.
Todd's normal order of operation here. So
Very, very good. Motion having been seconded, I'll hold a roll call vote, beginning with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Eric.
Hey,
Very good. Having 4 of 5, motion carries. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, I will give the screen back and where are you at? There you are. And screen share. Where'd you go? I don't have the meeting controls. It's the end screen share button. There we go. Where's that button at? You can tell I don't always share my screen all that much. Filter, remove spotlight. Is that button there? Stop video. Completely crazy. Does anyone know where that button is by any chance?
Dead center at the bottom, there's a caret on the right.
Oh, I see. I see. Thank you very, very much. There's the care. I see the care. There you go.
Should say unshare screen.
It doesn't actually say that.
Sure.
Quirky. All right.
Todd, it may also be on the top.
See, show thumbnail video.
The very top, it doesn't appear until you put your cursor over it.
Yeah, I'm at the very top. There's nothing there. Show thumbnail. Show thumbnail. Hide thumbnail. That's all it is. It's just a thumbnail view. It's quirky. Hide thumbnail. And self view. Spotlight for everyone. Pin. No. Choose video filter. There's nothing quite there. Apologies for that, folks. Stop video. Quirky. All right, let's move on until I find it.
Yeah, no problem. So do you need us to all sign this then, Todd?
Yes, I would need everyone to sign that. I will print out a hard copy version there, all the necessary copies for it, with the edits that I mentioned reflected at the beginning, notably with removing Michael from members present and some typographical baloney that slipped through at the end there. But after that, I would like to have everyone come down and sign that if that's possible.
Didn't we vote to have the planner sign these type of things, or was that just A&Rs?
I think that was just for A&Rs. I don't believe I'm empowered to do so. Was the
Okay.
chair allowed to sign unilaterally?
I forget what we voted for. I knew it was, maybe it was just A&Rs.
That's
Forget it.
possible.
I don't remember. I mean, I remember it was the A&Rs. I don't remember
Yeah.
things like this, to be honest.
Okay,
I do know in the exit memo, it wasn't noted there that by Valerie that I was empowered to do so. And I would not want to,
okay, maybe it was just A&Rs.
and that's simple stuff. Oh, there we go. I'm a silly
Todd,
person.
when will
There we
this
go.
be available? Because I am actually leaving Saturday for a business trip.
I could have this ready, gosh, before the end of the night tonight, for God's sakes. Don't drop by now, but I could have it ready in just a moment.
All right, fair enough.
If you really want to, I'll be here, but
No, it's good. No, I'm making a point to come over and sign.
so good. All right. I believe I fixed the screen sharing shenanigans. So stop share. There we go. Awesome. All right. Turns out I'm not quite as dull attack as my dad likes to think. All right.
Out
So-
of curiosity, where was it?
Oh, it was actually hidden behind a window that I had. I had all those windows open that I was previously sharing.
Oh,
It
okay.
obscured that portion of the desktop. So there we go. All right. Lovely. All right. So moving on.
Okay, so I think the only other thing on here is discussion of regulation recommendations.
Yes. And if you don't mind, do you mind if I take the lead for a second on this particular bit?
Oh, please. Okay.
As I prefaced at the beginning here, I went ahead and threw myself into the glorious thing that is Chapter 41 of Massachusetts General MGL. And I did come across Chapter 4181Q. I have it situated here. I will share a copy of this, but it was really highlighted for my blind self's notes. If you take a look, I'll just read it out here. The middle of the first paragraph of Section 81Q of Chapter 41, which is our subdivision controls. This is the big thing relating to what kind of maintenance standard we as the municipal can impose upon any proposed subdivision until it's been accepted at town meeting before those roads become public. Quote, a planning board shall adopt and in the same manner may, from time to time, amend reasonable rules and regulations relative to subdivision control, not inconsistent with the subdivision control law or with any other provisions of a statute of any valid ordinance or bylaw. It continues further on that in no case shall a city or town establish rules or regulations regarding the laying out, construction, alteration, or maintenance of ways within a particular subdivision which exceed the standards and criteria commonly applied by that city or that town to the laying out, construction, alteration, or maintenance of its publicly financed ways located in similarly zoned districts within such city or town. A lot of gobbledygook, but what it stipulates is that we here locally can require, we can't exceed the level of standards that we, the way we treat our roads here, public roads. We can't hold this other subdivision to a higher standard, but we can have them match our standard in terms of maintenance, which, as I already spoke with TA down low, is that maintenance also carries with it snow removal. So in that sense, we can't demand that a subdivision go far and beyond and wildly exceed the level of care that we show our own roads. However, we can require that they match the level of care and maintenance that we show our own roads up until such a point that the subdivision's roads become publicly accepted. So that's something that, while it doesn't help us in the dysfunctional subdivisions that we presently have, it is something that going forward, we can make sure that it's stipulated in our local subdivision control regulation. That's a very easy thing for us to do in-house. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to bring it to town meeting as a warrant article, nothing that elaborate. We do need to have this particular hearing standard noticed, 2 weeks out, put in the paper twice, the standard rigmarole that we do for every public hearing. However, upon doing so, after those regulations have been met, the board can simply vote to insert that particular clause within the municipal subdivision regulation. And at that point, it will be there, codified in local regulation. So that way, when the future subdivision comes to apply before us, they will have to knowingly read and accept and comply with all of those, or seek a waiver from it, which at that point is at the prerogative of the planning board here. Does that make sense? Was I too clunky with that explanation? It's a lot of words, I'm sorry.
No, it seems fairly straightforward.
Yeah, and that's something that's, I don't believe in simple solutions to complicated problems as a general rule, but this one here is a particularly elegant way to ensure that the problems that have befallen these really dysfunctional subdivisions, they at least won't happen again within the degree that we can control them. We can't, we can't manifest the future that we all want just with the snap of a finger, but we can make sure that the developers or would-be developer knowingly read and complied with the subdivision regs that we have here locally. And part of that would be maintenance of these roadways until those roadways become publicly accepted. I think that's the most elegant way to go forward with this. And if anyone has any questions, I've been up to my ears in subdivision regulations, so it's really at the top of my head.
What's the broad definition of maintenance? I mean, we've talked about snow removal, but drainage, I mean, there are other elements to road maintenance.
There absolutely are, and we could make sure that that's reflected too. As I mentioned, 81Q, I read it verbatim. It didn't really unpack the word maintenance into all of its contingent parts, but part of that maintenance, at least in the winter months, does constitute snow removal. We could add drainage as well. I don't believe that would be overstretching in any way. I don't believe so.
I think our DPW head has been concerned, as have we, about not only snow removal, but the issue of icing on roads, and that's part of drainage.
Yeah,
that's part of
water.
snow removal, as Mark has pointed out in a recent review.
Oh yeah, frozen meltwater is just as dangerous. Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, if you guys are amenable to that, I can. I want to really have some discussion here, because this is something that I ran it by our town administrator here. I also ran it by, 6 or 7 of my other colleagues. Yeah, let's see. Check. Yeah, I ran it by 5 that I can immediately come to mind. And based on the language that's provided here in MGL 81Q under Chapter 41, We can't put thumb screws to any of these would-be developers. We can't hold them to a higher standard than we hold ourselves. However, at the very least, we can have them match us, which is not a large ask, I would say. And it's an ounce of prevention for a lot of headaches in the future. It won't be anything that'll apply retroactively, I'm afraid, it never is. But those are separate delinquent kids for another time. We can deal with those items as they arise and as they are arising. But at least for the future, we can make sure that none of these dysfunctional developments occur in the same way again. And that's not nothing, I'm saying.
Do we have any subdivisions on the horizon?
No. I mean, technically, the Fosberg that was here earlier is technically a subdivision, but it's only a 6 lot. It's not anything as mammoth as something large. And again, since they applied, for their Fosberg, if we were to adopt these regs at this very second, which we can't do, if they were to apply, this wouldn't apply to them because they applied stamped in at months and months ago. So this wouldn't apply to that or anything in utero. But for anything in the future, this could potentially give us at least more teeth. And at least in the legal proceeding, if it were to rise to that, we can say, we have this in our subdivision regs at your time of application. We can hold you to that. That's my understanding. So that's the most I believe we'll be able to do from here in this very moment, or at least, when we have our hearing, we discuss this. It's the most that we can have. But I don't want to begin deliberations on this item because we haven't noticed the hearing properly, but it's just something I want you guys to individually think about. And just let me know your thoughts privately, one-on-one, and we can go from there. Savvy?
So, Todd, please excuse my ignorance. What subdivisions are now not on town plowing?
Oh gosh. It's my understanding that Century Mills Estates is not. That's the noisiest of all of the dysfunction.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the noisiest of all of them there, and they have good reason to be upset. I don't want to minimize that in any way. But legally, in the eyes of the state, they're residing in an active construction site, and as
Right.
such, it limits our ability to influence and kind of exert authority over. So it's likely going to rise to the level of litigation. I would venture to say, with the residents of Century Mills. I'm extremely
Obviously, we can't go back.
Yeah. If we could, I would be all about it.
What are the other?
The big
So
ones
in
there,
town,
we have Manor Hill. I actually can pull it up. Hang on.
Keys Farm.
The Keys Farm Estates.
Add more.
Pretty large list of them. Hang on.
Padmore's Goose Pond Path, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You get quite a few, my good sir. Quite a few. Let's see.
I mean, Century Mills, the residents, are upset because they have a homeowners association, right? They have to pay into for the plowing, so they have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Keys Farm, they're upset because they don't have anything,
Yeah.
and the developer is not. That's even a worse situation. I mean, I don't know if it's worse, right? But another bad situation.
Fell off the map, right?
Yeah.
It's really a really messy situation. And just even in my private life, when some of my friends have elected to purchase property in some of these brand new, fresh off the presses, new construction and subdivisions, I always tell them to hold off for a couple of years to let them get the bugs out of it first. Let the subdivision kind of mature a little bit. Let them get the kinks out of the system, and then broach moving in or purchasing property there. It's really an unfortunate situation all around. But yeah, we got Keys Farm. We got.
So what you're saying is that we could put into writing where we could hold their feet to the fire to.
It's more of they can't say sorry we didn't know or this isn't our responsibility, because it will be stipulated in our regulations that until such time as those roads are publicly accepted by the town, they're responsible for it. And that there will be kind of incontrovertible in writing. They can't argue against that because it's clearly plain as day spoken in regulation.
That's the developer.
Yeah. In order for them to apply, they have to have read the regulations. And it's kind of like this way I can put it, it's kind of like reading the instruction manual.
What's the penalty if they do not?
Well, that one there, it's a little bit of a trickier issue. I would need to consult town council for delinquent subdivisions in that way. But we do have zoning enforcement tool sets that we can use, but I don't know exactly how far and how big those teeth are. I'm afraid I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I can look into that.
is it possible to get like a bond, right, for road,
Yeah,
you
and,
money for road, plowing?
again, I don't want to have this turn into a deliberation because this hasn't been properly noticed. So I
Okay.
don't want to see back and forth between members, but matters of bond is extremely important, and not releasing bonds too early in the process is something that we should definitely not do. Going into the future, yeah, that's something that all of you guys should have kind of not front in mind, but maybe middle in mind
So let me
as
ask
we
you-
get these in the future.
Let me ask you, what's gonna happen this year, this winter?
Hmm.
Because, we've given Century Mill, Moderator Way, Goose Pond Road.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? Does
Well,
anyone have any?
if it's a matter of public safety, I do know that DPW is obligated to get to them, to plow to them. However, we don't really have, since it's not a public road, we can't extend services to those areas. We don't have the ability to. It's really a kind of a chicken and the egg scenario in the worst way.
We can't put pressure on the developer.
Not in such, no, because the developers that are here, one of the developers we only speak to via counsel, via our lawyers talking to their lawyers. They
Yeah.
haven't replied in any way, which is frustrating. But the others have been effectively just ignoring my reaching out and my calls. We don't have any leverage over them. We can, of course, work with counsel to pull bond on some of the remaining ones, but this is escalating into a civil matter, which is frustrating. But I don't quite really have any good answer, I'm afraid.
Oh, fair enough.
I wish I could give you better news. I really do.
No. It's been ongoing now for years, and it's
No, as I mentioned, I have extreme sympathy for the folks that live there.
yeah, the citizens are owed an answer.
Yeah.
So
It's just a frustrating situation all around. It really is. Really is.
Todd, without getting into details, have you discussed with town council what our potential recourse is as we go towards litigation?
Sure, I will. I reached out to him today. He's out until Monday, but when I get back into the office on Monday, that'll be the first thing I do. Is I'll reach out to Mr. Falk and see what we can get. I have to run it by town administrator first, of course, but as soon as I get that green light, I'll make sure to do that.
It's unpleasant to get into that business, but it would be nice to know what we're getting into and what our quiver looks like.
Very
yeah,
good.
we like I said last meeting, we have to clean stuff up. It's getting too long of the tooth,
Yeah. No, I definitely can empathize, and I echo that sentiment. I've dealt with similar dysfunctional subdivisions before, notably Deer Run and over in Spencer, where I was most recently. And that particular developer, he went completely belly up into chapter. It was like you couldn't even get blood from a stone. It's like getting blood from a cloud. There's nothing you can do. It was awful. And eventually the town ended up taking it on the chin, and they took quite a few properties through owed back taxes. And from there, they were able to then liquidate the properties and use that influx of cash as a shot in the arm to correct the subdivisions up to a decent standard. And then once the subdivisions have their best foot forward, then accept them under the public. And then from there, they just became like any other road. That might be the way forward here, especially with elevated land prices now, even though the market is cooling. Once court proceedings are over with the financial department, and we actually do own those in terms of making them municipally owned, we can then liquidate those and then use that shot in the arm influx of cash to cover whatever temporary costs we take now, or at least in the short term. I
And
think that's,
I don't mean to laugh at,
Yeah.
it's the,
Yeah.
like I said, it's getting to be a burden now for
Yeah.
citizens and,
oh no, and trust me, I don't blame the cynical laughing. I don't, but I mean, land court was slow before COVID. Now it moves like frozen molasses. It
Yeah.
takes forever. But that's, I think, the only real light at the end of the tunnel. Is just a really long walk till the end of the tunnel, I'm afraid.
But
fortunate.
Is there
if
a,
there are occupancy permits and new actual owners other than the developer of the houses,
Yeah.
Using that as a mechanism for recourse gets extremely problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, again, that's one of the reasons why I shy away from simple solutions to complicated problems. It usually misses something. Usually, not always, but usually. At least it happens enough where it becomes problematic as an MO.
I mean,
But
this is,
still, we'll be working on this for some time to come. I'm loath to say, but I think this is a long-term issue, not a short-term issue. But the
This
best thing
prob-
we can do is get these regs in order so that way for any future developers, they're going to have to meet this standard, and they're going to be well communicated about what their obligations are until these roads are publicly accepted. If they
is
get
there, is there any way to disincentivize subdivisions without getting into exclusionary?
not effectively, no.
Yeah.
That is, I won't say illegal, but it's illegal.
Right, yeah, I mean,
We can't do
I
that.
figured it was skirting exclusionary.
I mean, it's not like you're
housing,
going to
but-
have, federal agents busting down the door. No,
Yeah.
we can't do that.
No.
We just simply have to process them according to the procedures that we have in place. We can, and you guys you're the SPGA. You guys can, you have some lateral movement in terms of what your decisions are based off of, but they still have to be defensible in the eyes of the law. That's the big thing.
Like, is there any way we could increase in Frostburg the amount of open space? We're at 33%. Could we increase it to like 50% or?
Well, that's a little tricky because in so doing, I actually dealt with this in Barrie when we had, this was for a different operation. This is for cannabis cultivation. As you can expect, it was very controversial. And there was a pretty large citizen activist movement of trying to effectively zone it out of existence. Basically make the minimum parcel size 50 acres. At that point, there are 3 or 4 parcels that would even be eligible. And at that point, it would be an onerous burden. It would also be very hard to defend in court. Very, very hard to defend in court. And as such, it would be flimsy. And since there was no severability provision, the entire bylaw related to cannabis could have been chucked out. And at that point, they would have no rules. Never mind reasonable kind of middle of the road guardrails. So it's a very tenuous position to be in. And again, that's a very simple solution to a clunky, complicated problem. And usually, like I mentioned, it tends not to be that simple and that clean. Sometimes, but not always. Actually, usually not.
But to Eric's point, can we change Frostburg? Can we address the amount of wetlands in a Frostburg open space area? Are there things we can do there?
There is some flexibility there, but it's very difficult to just simply pluck a number subjectively out of a hat. For example, you can't just say, oh, it must be 25 acres or 10 acres or 5 or 3. You have to have some defensibility there. So it'll take some time to find some other local areas like our analogous neighbors and see if they have similar provisions and then have it step in resonance with the other neighbors, like with analogous communities. We could do that. That's much more defensible than just saying, well, 5 sounds good. Can't quite do that. We have to have some evidentiary backing to it. Again, and we're touching on close to deliberations at this point.
Yeah,
I'm very open to talking about it just one-on-one. We can't do it
sure.
in a group forum, I'm afraid.
But it would be
But I can talk
interesting to
about
get
this all
that,
day. So what's that?
without getting into the deliberation, I think it would be worthwhile knowing what latitude there is out there so we can have some knowledgeable deliberation.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I'll be doing a look and some comparative analysis, at least of our neighboring communities like Harvard, Stowe, Hudson, maybe Berlin. But I mean, I'll also probably look at UMass also and see what their open space
I mean, it just seems like every subdivision's a nightmare. Just,
If it makes you feel better, Eric, it's not only Bolton. It's not
Yeah.
only Bolton. And with such a juicy profit incentive now for new development, with housing prices being what they are, developers, not all of them, they tend to play a little bit faster and looser with the rules and materials and regulation than, frankly, I would tolerate. But I'm not in a position of power to complain. So I'm just here to see that the rules are followed. Aside from that, does anyone have any other questions? But thank you for the conversation.
To your point, 5 houses were sold in Bolton 2 weeks ago. 3 of the 5 were over $1 million.
Yep. I'll probably be 194 years old before I can afford to live here. Maybe 195, I don't know. But unless I can turn into a cyborg in the immediate future, it's not likely to happen. Let's see. Aside from that, does anyone else have any other questions? Feel free to message me independently. I love talking land use planning. I'm kind of chained down to how much I can talk about it, at least until it's actually announced and properly noticed.
you're a really fun party guest.
You laugh, but before COVID, we had Festivus, and it was like a high school reunion, of the only people that you care about meeting again. And they entertained me for about half an hour, and then they told me kindly to shut up. But I mean, as friends do. They said it in more terse terms than that. But either way.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Mark, any update on your house?
Have a second offer that we've accepted. Pass the well test today and see how the inspection goes tomorrow.
Right on. Congratulations.
Well, we'll see.
Um,
In theory,
as
close.
far as,
So,
sorry.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
congratulations
as far
to you,
as-
but not
as-
necessarily us.
Yeah, as far as backfilling Mark goes,
I mean, I'm selfishly kind of frustrated because I like working with you, Mark. So, I mean, I honestly do wish you the best, but I'm kind of ticked, honestly.
oh, well.
we did have another candidate for the assistant position a few months ago
Associate?
that we might, the associate that we
Yes,
might want to reach out to again, just to kind of get ahead
Yes.
of that, or I don't know if you have to relist.
I'll talk with Don about it, make sure that the process is abided by, but it seems like that person is pretty easy to contact.
Okay.
So at least we have his contact information, and that information is fairly fresh. So I think we'll be able to reach that person without too much trouble.
Yeah, that'd be great. Seemed like a very appropriate person.
Excellent. Feeling that, is there any other last minute items not foreseen by either the chair or myself?
No, Todd, thank you so much.
You got it. And
I will
I have
make a motion to
before
adjourn.
before we adjourn, I'm so sorry. Does everyone have my contact information? If anyone needs it, just shoot me an email and I'll get it out to you. Again, feel free to contact me whenever the heck you want. Just, don't email me at 2 a.m. like it's happened before. Not here, just not at 2. So let me know if you need my email or my cell phone number. I'll make sure you have
3
it.
o'clock in the morning is when you get your best ideas.
You laugh, not at 3. And I've gotten 1 o'clock phone calls and I picked up like the schmuck I am. But either way, if anyone wants that, I'll be happy to share. Okay.
I understand. Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
I will now make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Very good. We'll call a vote. I'll begin with Peter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
James.
All right.
Michael.
All right.
Eric.
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Right.
See you in a couple of weeks. Have a good night, Kara.